Mozambicans have voted for a new president in an election that is expected to extend the ruling party's 49 years in power. The opposition has already alleged manipulation of the process. Some independent candidates have expressed confidence in the electoral process, but not the people deployed to run the election. Some presidential hopefuls raised concerns over the fairness of the election process soon after polls opened, claiming, among others, that some of their delegates were denied accreditation to monitor voting. The ruling Front for the Liberation of Mozambique, or Frelimo, has routinely denied allegations that it rigs elections. The leftist former liberation movement has been in power in the southern African country since independence from Portugal in 1975. Dr. Charles Sinkala, who's the international relations consultant, joins us for a conversation expanding on this topic. Dr. Sinkala, very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. As voters in Mozambique cast their ballots, the Frelimo party that has been ruling for 49 years is expected to hold on to power. What are the dynamics at play as we assess the political climate there?
Yes, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. It is quite complex and not very unusual in African politics. Mozambique, yes, it has gone to the polls. Frelimo, they've been in power, as you mentioned, for 49 years, and their appetite to keep on clinging to power has just increased. You know, even though Nyusi has, indicated to step down and appointed somebody, Daniel Chapo, who probably might be there to control him. But, there's also other three candidates, especially from the Renamo group now, which turned as a political party, the Renamo group.
Because this election comes, Dr. Sinkala, amid political tensions in the southern African nation, which struggles with high levels of poverty, inequality, while jihadist violence in the north is also holding back some major gas projects, the outgoing president, Philip Nyusi, has issued a word of caution. In fact, he said that any group which wants to agitate or threaten the situation is really warned against doing so, and that announcing the results ahead of time must also be avoided. Of course, this speaks volumes, right? Considering the impact of the municipal elections in 2023, which were seen as fraudulent.
Of course, if you talk about the last elections, he won for about 73%. And that just tells you how the dominance, how the liberation movements will keep on clinging to the power. So the competition might not be a playing field. Yes, other candidates have tried. But, elections are run on the basis of poverty. And that's why these about a third of the Mozambicans, are below the age of 25 years. And these are the ones who are agitating for the change, that they usher a new government. But of course, because of loyalty as well, they could support the same Frelimo party to continue with the new president.
And the Frelimo candidate who's going to be replacing Nyusi is a relatively unknown provincial governor, Daniel Chapo, whose election will essentially mark a generational change because he'd be the first Mozambican president born after independence from Portugal in 1975. What do we know about him?
He's been there. Of course, he was silent. I think he joined politics in 2011. He's a law graduate. He's got his own interest in terms of the politics, but we all know regarding the politics, in terms of succession within the political party, President Nyusi will still continue to dominate him if he can, but those really backfires, like what has happened to Ian Khama in Botswana and Masisi, where they differ on two certain terms, and he has to continue to lead the country. He's, dominantly been speaking about ending the war in Cabo Delgado in the north, which most of them have been talking about, which has failed to be controlled by the former president or the current president or outgoing president at the moment. But in many aspects, he has talked about the industrialization of Mozambique, creating jobs among the youths and others, which is not different from other candidates who has promised the same.
And of course, creating jobs will be highly imperative, more so as skeptics have weighed in on the election, saying they doubt it will bring about much change to the impoverished country where more than 74% of Mozambique's population lived in poverty in 2023, according to some stats there. What kind of approach will the new president need to take when it comes to priorities around the economy? I mean, you speak about job creation on one end, but a whole strategy is needed to boost the country's economy.
I think a culture of working together, has to be adopted in terms of an inclusive government. I think in that way you eliminate, sectors of society who are against the government and they decide to start working together. But unfortunately, the other opposition political party, the Frelimo, who was rebels in the country, many of them has depicted them as to work against the government or working with other allies from the outside Mozambique, to dominate in areas that are rich in oil or probably gold and timber, which has been illegally been mined. And many corruption, has been accused, corruption activities has been accused for the leaders and senior leaders who has been convicted within Mozambique. And we can't forget the finance minister who was convicted in the United States of America. And I think, for people, and the government, many of them pursue them or call it corruption because only a certain small sector of society, which is probably 10 to 15%, which is enjoying, and the rest, I would like to say it is our turn now. We have to have the slice of a pie.
The fairness of the election process, some concerns have been raised there. I mean, some say that soon after polls opened, some of their delegates were denied accreditation to monitor voting. What does this tell us about transparency during this election process?
Well, as much as we do not expect 100% transparency in any elections in the world, whether in Africa or anywhere else, but at least there must be some sanity. Such activities such as that you've mentioned, creates an imbalance, conflicts in terms of the others, especially the opposition political parties, who does not enjoy the machinery. But, we expect the results to start being counted from tonight, and I think the Independent Electoral Commission, they've got 15 days to, to announce the elections, and other political parties or sectors of society who might be aggrieved, they may lodge in a complaint as usual, of the fairness of the elections. But I suspect that, the elections might be towards the ruling party because they enjoy the immunity and the machinery, in terms of maintaining as a liberation movement, even if their sheen and shine has diminished.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Dr. Charles Sinkala, International Relations Consultant, speaking to us about the dynamics in Mozambique as elections take place. And of course, vote counting expected from around later this evening.